Welcome back to the Cinema Crew. I am here to talk about House of the Dragon series premiere, episode 1. Finally, we got that on HBO on Sunday night. I'm here with some usual members of the crew from different other shows. First, I got my girl Shelly Shell. What's up, Shell?
What's up, guys?
And of course, the engineer, creator, Mr. Josh Waring.
Dracarys.
Nice. Josh got sound effects, just to let you know, Michelle. So, talking about House of the Dragon. So, I figured with this, man, I didn't want to go scene by scene because it's just too much. But I do want to talk about the highlights of the show, the prominent plot threads that were sown, and also any characters you want to talk about, and any questions we may have about different stuff going on. But before we get into it, man, let's talk about the show that preceded it, Game of Thrones. So, with that, let me holler at Josh. I already know the answer to this, but how much did you love about Game of Thrones, and how did it make you anticipate this show? I want to say.
I mean, I definitely loved it a lot. I didn't start watching until the start of the 3rd season. My boy who knew I was a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, he's like, yo, you might want to check out Game of Thrones. I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I was just like, to Mike's calling card after that first episode, you're already in for the adventure. So it was great. And of course, let's say seasons 1 through 5 to 6 are definitely the best because it follows the source material. Obviously season 8 was a bit of a debacle. I still enjoyed it because I'm not gonna lie, any show I watch, I'm a fanboy, lover to hate it, I'm still gonna get through it. And I was excited about this new prequel because it takes place 200 years before the events, all that. You get to learn more about the family, right? More of the Targaryen family. And you have Miguel Sapochnik, who is arguably the best director from the original series, and he's the actual showrunner. So I know for a fact he is not going to mail it in like Dan and Dave. So I was very excited about that for him to take what was great in Game of Thrones, and this is his words. He wants to use what worked great and leave out what did not work. And the fact that we have the entire source material of Fire and Blood from George R.R. Martin, very excited. What about you, Shelly Shell?
I started watching Game of Thrones in the 3rd season, just like you. And I was working at the state at the time, and my coworker was like, "Do you watch Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't watch that Viking shit." Like, that's what I thought. So he was like, "Listen, if you watch the first episode of season 1, I'll take you out to lunch and we could talk about it." So I'm like, "All right." So I watched the first episode, and I still wasn't fully convinced or fully into it. So I gave it another episode. And I'm like, "All right, this is gonna be something. So let me take my time." I agree with you. I think seasons 3 through 7 were the best for me. 8 was okay. We knew it was ending, and I think it was unfair to have high expectations of a good end. So can y'all hear me?
You good?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was echoing. But I absolutely loved it. And the wait to get to where we are with the prequel was greatly anticipated. I'm here for it. I love this episode, and I'm excited to see what's going to develop into what we already know has happened.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about my journey too. Like I actually started at the season 4, I want to say, and I was working at this or I think it was into season 4 already, like the 3rd or 4th episode. I was working at the warranty company I was working at. And I never remember my guy Jose, and he was talking to me about it, and he was like, you watch Game of Thrones, and they were in there talking about they were actually talking about the red wedding and stuff like that at my job. I'm like,
That's the
so I'm
best
like,
word, the best.
so I'm like, what the hell's a red wedding? Because that happened in the end of season 3. We're season 4 right now. So I was like, they said, you watch Game of Thrones, and I'm like, no. So I was like, man, that's that shit with the dragons. That's how I was like, I was like, nah, I'm good. I ain't watching that shit. So then he was like, I'm thinking like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that when I heard about that, like just whatever. So I was like, nah, I'm good. He was like, same thing, like watch first couple episodes, see if you get into it. And I remember like just starting it, and I got hooked. I remember every night I was watching 2-3 episodes. So before you know it, I had caught up to the season 4 where we were at in the middle of the season. So yeah, after that, I just became entrenched and hooked in the whole thing. And then that made me, of course, like Josh said, wait for any new prequel or any new show to come out because I was so into it.
And just to clarify, Big Mike, you on record said this is your favorite show of all time.
It's my number one show of all
Wow.
time. Even with the last season, because it had 6.5 to me great seasons. And I mean great. It had a great storytelling, great writing. It had everything it needed. Good joke telling sometimes, great action, sex scenes. It had everything. So I just feel like it was my number one show. And it surpassed Sopranos, which was my number one show. So, but then it went over that. So now this is my number one show. All the time. Well, Game of Thrones was, I should say. So, and then like you said, Miguel Sapochnik, he directed the Battle of the Bastards episode, the fight. So I knew he would be good too. So, and I know this story. Like I read this book, Fire and Blood. So I knew this would be a good prequel, House of the Dragon, primarily because it's a finished story. So it's got a start and the ending, where the original series, that book still ain't finished yet. So we don't know how he would have ended that. So they kind of took their own liberties, which it's never good. It's gonna be crazy if he ended differently than the show did. How people take that, but it's neither here nor there. So, but all right, let's talk about this series though. So this series starts with a flashback, and that's one of the plot points I want to get into that. So the flashback does really start to show how the series will take place and why things happen, and it shows that Rhaenys was passed over for the second time, really though, to be the next person on the Iron Throne, which gave her the name the Queen Who Never Was. And we see she was passed up by her cousin, so to speak, Jaehaerys. So I'm helping you out with the names, Michelle. I know you had some side. So Rhaenys is the older lady who was passed over, and then Jaehaerys is the king, her cousin, stuff like that. Oh, I'm sorry, Viserys. Yeah, it's her cousin. Jaehaerys was the old king who was there and was passed over, and that starts to show how at that time women were always passed over to be in power. And you see when she is passed over, her reaction, his reaction, her husband's reaction, and everybody else's reaction. So I don't know if you knew about that, Josh, but seeing that flashback, like, how'd that make you feel? So.
Oh, I thought that was great because we got to see the destroyed Harrenhal, all the way back from Aegon. So I thought that was fantastic. And me, I watched the extras on HBO Max, so it showed how they used the special effects for that entire scene, and I thought that was fantastic. So I thought it was a great visual, and I loved how the king didn't speak at all. He had his lieutenant speak for him. So I thought that was a big power play. But at the same time, I actually think the king made the right decision in this instance, because Viserys, he actually was the last person to ride the massive dragon. Valerian. He was the last one to ride that big ass dragon. So I think he deserves to be the king of the dragon people.
I disagree, but I'll get to that. Michelle, seeing the flashback, did it help you out to start the series? And maybe any questions at all? Anything like that?
I think it set the tone from where it was with her being passed over to the king passing the throne to his daughter. We see what it was with the idea of woman not being projection to lead the kingdom, and then by consequences, let's say, consequences, a woman or a girl who will become a woman is now going to be the queen of the kingdom. So it was a good bridge between the two generations, I would say, or two worlds, and how we can see the evolution of women becomes coming into power and becoming and rising up.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the reason I disagree with you, Josh, is because Viserys is weak. So I don't think he was a great show. I mean, we'll get to that later on, obviously, but he's a weak king. So I don't think he would have been. I think that Rhaenys would have been a better overall leader. So that's why I don't agree with that. I mean, I get your thought about the dragon part, but
I mean, that's fair. But I also think it was because I don't think you would have a woman queen or woman leader if Viserys wasn't selected. But that's just me.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Michelle. You want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And she's got a dragon herself. We just haven't seen it yet, by the way. Rhaenys and stuff. So, but we will. All right. So, like you said, this set the tone. We got the king now. He on the throne. We start to meet the major players. The king. We go to the council. We see his hand. We learn about his brother, his daughter, of course, the one daughter that he has. And at the time when the show starts, he got the pregnant wife who she talks about. She tried to have 5 children, lost them all after having a one daughter. She said, "This is my last time, having a baby." And we see the king wants a boy so bad to kind of follow what we're just talking about, like to keep a man on the throne. And that's one of the biggest plot points. Let me go to Michelle this time. How you feel about that whole plot point and his wife keep trying to have children with him and stuff like that?
I mean, she said it was her duty to give him heirs,
Right.
and they had their daughter, and then she tried 5 more times in which the baby was stillborn or died of complications. So, as his wife, it was her job to continue to try for him because he always said he wanted a son. And she got pregnant and things went left. Things went left, So I honestly I didn't have any foresight of them doing a C-section. Didn't see that coming at all. That one particular scene, I had to look away. I couldn't take it.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't take it. Yeah. But learning what we learned about the baby dying really took me back because I didn't see that coming at all. We knew she was going to die because he had to make the choice. But seeing what he wanted this whole time, which was a male heir, and then having it come to fruition with his son being born, and then just like the other 5 taken right away, that really set the tone for the rest of the show, and I think for the rest of the season.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that, and you look in a way that the unfortunate part, giving birth in this medieval time period, it was like a 50-50 shot whether the mom lived or not, unfortunately. So
yeah, well, that's what the guy says, that we could save one,
or none.
Don't know about both.
yeah. But Josh, just that whole his eagerness to get that male heir and his wife constantly trying for him, and ultimately her dying with the last try. How'd you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, I thought that was fair because even though he's considered the weak king here, he still understands his duty to the kingdom, which is you have to unite the kingdom, and it's a lot harder to unite the kingdom without a viable male heir. So of course that's going to be, if you're the king in power, that's literally your duty. And obviously, as Shelly Shell said, the queen's duty is to provide the heir. It's a teamwork to make the dream work, to keep the kingdom intact. That's Game of Thrones 1, right?
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground.
Love the sound effects.
And that's completely facts because, as you articulated, Miguel, during medieval times or times before present technology, right? Giving childbirth is incredibly dangerous. It's a very traumatic event for any woman, right? Emotionally, physically, spiritually, like that takes a lot. Even more so, specifically for Targaryens, who are known to have awful births, which is why you probably have a lot of ancestral relationships to keep the power in the family, because you don't always have those heirs. So I thought that was a great a demonstration of the Targaryen philosophy on the kingdom and preserving the kingdom. So for me, I know he's considered weak, but the decision he made was not weak at that birth.
Yeah,
that was not a weak decision at all. That was a kingly decision.
And you know what? His brother called him weak. I would say he's mid. I would say he's not like strong or weak. He's kind of mid to me, actually, more so than I would say. But to your point about the childbirth and the Targaryens, yeah, you're right, because her mother, Emma, died having her, and then she died giving birth. So, and that's not in the show, but I know a lot from the book. So
same thing with Daenerys too.
Right. Same thing with Daenerys. Yeah. A lot of them die. Well, same thing, going to Game of Thrones. We'll skip into that too. But, Tyrion killed his mom when he was born. She died. Yeah. That's why Tywin hated him the whole time.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, a lot of them, it's 50-50 shot. It's crazy because you're right. They have to produce an heir, but trying to do one is like a 50-50 shot you're going to live or not. So for women, they got to be tough because it's like, I don't know if I'm going to live or not.
Like a one shot chance.
Yeah.
To survive it.
Yeah, because they don't have no real medicine. Like that. It's just like it is what it is.
And the thing is, with all that magic and maesters, you feel like they would have something for that. Like it's very interesting. But at the same time,
besides milk of the poppy, that's all they got.
Exactly, which is pretty prominent though. To be fair.
Right.
And at the same time, I gotta stick up for the king, for Viserys. That was not a passive decision. If he was as
I
weak
agree.
as Damon said, he would have been like, "Oh, I can't do it," and both of them would have died. So the fact that he took the decision, he made the badass decision, and they both died anyway, that makes it hurt even more, as Shelley was saying. So I thought that was wonderful storytelling by the director and of course George W.R. Martin.
The part
Okay.
for me that stood out the most was when you see him grab her hand and she's like, "What's happening?" And I'm like, "Oh, she has no part in this. She does not know she's about to die." Okay. Again, it was a very keen decision because he only had one option, either save the baby or kill them both. So had he given her the opportunity to have a thought about it, she probably wouldn't have went through with it.
Well, I agree, 100%. I don't think the end is not. I mean, it's. I don't think she at that point she was already fed up with trying to have babies anyway. So I agree with you, Michelle. 100%. And then all of it is because you think about her part, but then you go back to Rhaenyra, who we'll get into now, because she had this father who had her mother pregnant all the time, trying to get a male, so it made her feel like she wasn't good enough because she was born a woman. So it also put that in her head, when you're watching that. But then we see her in the beginning. She starts off the show with the Game of Thrones theme in the background, riding a dragon over King's Landing, giving us Daenerys vibes, right? And she's, she lands, and we see that she's not the average, just elegant lady, like, let's say. She is a dragon rider. She's been doing it for years. She also works with her dad inside the small council, stuff like that, and has aspirations of her own. So let me ask you, Michelle, what is your take on Rhaenyra and meeting her and all her different things in the show?
I like her.
Okay.
I like her. I'm interested in seeing where her characterization is going to go. Of course, she doesn't have any power yet up until the last bit of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we see how she can command attention and whatnot. But I'm really interested in seeing, now that she is coming of power, how she's going to flex it across the kingdom.
Okay. All right. Josh, what are your thoughts on Rhaenyra and Summer? But before she gets to be the heir, like just her aspirations at that time. So.
Yeah, she remind me of a diet Arya, right?
Okay.
She dressed and acts like Sansa, but she speaks like Arya. But I'm like, you don't know how to wield the sword. You ain't Arya. You ain't an archer. Like if you was really about that life, you would learn all those things. And no one can say shit to you because you're the princess. Yo, teach me how to do this, servant. So clearly,
Arya.
You're not about that life. So I'm like, I'm with Shelley, right? How are you going to wield that power? How, you can tell she's going to be a strong character, which is fantastic. It's just how she's going to wield that power is going to be very interesting.
Okay. Got you. Yeah, she I can see the comparison there, Josh. And I guess for her, like with a lot of Targaryen, she like, listen, you got a sword, I got a dragon, and I know how to command it. So I think for her, she like, I'm good, I'm Gucci. But I get your point as well and stuff. And,
but at the same time, to answer your point, sorry, Miguel, she is a bit, what's the word? I don't want to say a little bit entitled, but I would say more so very, what's the word? Very nonchalant. And I feel like too nonchalant for your role in society. And I feel like Allison, or what's her name, Hightower, was telling her hey, listen, you have a role here, regardless if you're going to be a princess or the queen or not. You need to worry about what's going on because it's the Game of Thrones.
Well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about Allison. Allison was trying to tell her, help her learn stuff, about the past and let her know she's the Hand of the King's daughter. I'm sorry, the Hand of the King's daughter, Otto Hightower, and we see their relationship as well, Allison and Rhaenyra. So, Michelle, touch on that. How you feel about her and their relationship with Rhaenyra?
I didn't give it too much thought, honestly.
Okay, all right.
For a second, I'm like, this might turn into, a little love affair in the future. But
Oh,
again, I
wow.
don't know the story. It's already written, so I don't know the story. So I'm just speculating on that.
I'm happy you got. No, I love your perspective because you come in fresh. I love that. So
Yeah, coming in fresh, coming in blind.
Yeah.
So, but just like the king has a hand, she kind of steps into that role for her.
Okay.
Unannounced, I would
Okay.
say. To educate her on things that she otherwise wouldn't be bothered with. But she also flips the script and shows her that she knows more than what she's leading on to.
Okay. And Josh, your thoughts on Alicent and their relationship?
It's interesting because shout out to New Rockstars and Eric Voss for breaking this episode down. He actually pointed out, and I didn't notice the first time, that the dragon, her dragon, Quaxis, Syrax, excuse me,
yeah,
he was actually peeping Alicent, like, oh, I don't trust you completely. So that was interesting. That put my antennas up because during the show I felt that way as well. I felt like to a degree because of her nonchalance, I feel like Alicent was looking at Rhaenyra as a bit naive. Like you don't know what's going on, and that's how kind of like how she's acting. And at the same time, we've been in Westeros before with the Hand of the King. The Hand of the King has his own agenda as well, and we saw that with him and Daemon going at it. So again, it's the Game of Thrones. You always have to be ahead of everyone else, or you literally will die.
Well, two things I want to say. One thing about this show, as opposed to the main series Game of Thrones, is this one's literally about the Game of Thrones, where in the first show you had the side plot with the White Walkers, the more majestical stuff beyond the wall. Where this one is pretty much sticks to who's going to wind up on the throne. So it should be very intriguing in that way without that side plot. And I'm gonna say what I said, the barbershop. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but Alicent was probably, like Michelle said, I really think nothing about her, right? She's probably one of the quietest characters in the first episode, but she grows to be probably the most important person in the whole series. So it's like crazy. So it's dope how they played this as a director. Like they kind of hid her in plain sight, but then you'll see how she grows later on. So I think it's pretty cool from a writing and directing aspect. But like you said, it gave those little things about her, that you'll see later on, even down to the green dress at the end. So let's talk about that small council. So let's talk about the black character, Corlys Velaryon, on the show. The first black, not the first one, but one of the most prominent black Game of Thrones characters. And I know there was some stuff about that, but Josh, how you feel about Corlys Velaryon there and stuff?
He's a real big fan of Daemon. It seems, right? So it's interesting, but at the same time, I feel like he understands how sausage is made in the kingdom, for lack of better words. He's on the king's council, and again, he seems to go with the strongest candidate. That's where I feel like his allegiance is. Maybe he's like a true Targaryen because he's going where the strongest leader is, regardless of who that is. And at the moment, it seems to be Daemon. And it seems like he's all about supporting that claim, and anything else is nonsense.
But you see, he tried to push his wife back too when there was somebody there too. Yeah, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, he loved his wife. He loved Rhaenys. But Michelle, what do you think about him as introduction there also?
So over the summer, I was trying to watch some information about what was to come, and it was talks about how the significance of his black presence. But honestly, that's not even a forethought for me within this series. Race doesn't matter because it doesn't matter in that time period. It matters now, but it doesn't matter in that time period. So I can't sit here and say, "Oh, I'm glad it's a black man on the screen."
Why you feel about his character then, besides the black part? Then?
So I agree with Josh in the sense that he is going to go with who he believes is the rightful heir. But at the same time, I think some part of him down the line is going to have his own self-interest.
That's a good call. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, he's master of ships. He's the leader of the whole Navy. He's got a lot of money, got a lot of power, influence himself. So he's a big character. And like I said, him and his wife, been together for many years, Rhaenys, and he was there as you saw when she got passed over. So that hit him too, because he thought she was going, get on the top of it there, as well. And the story that's beyond the show. At the time, they actually, him and his wife had paid a lot of the other lords to vote for her and stuff to be the queen at that time when they held that big council. But even with the money they paid, they still didn't have enough to for her to win over Viserys. So he always been kind of hurt.
Was it that it wasn't enough money, or was it that
she was a woman?
Tradition. Yeah.
I think it's that. I think you spot on, Shell. I think they probably.
I think they wasted the money. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they took the money. Like, yeah, I'm gonna vote this way anyway.
Basically, he had a handshake deal. He should have got it in writing, I guess, or whatever. But that's my brother Eric talking about Alicent. He said she is the daughter of the Hand. When the Hand told her to go into the king's quarters, she had no issues. So I think she's down to get power, which is every way possible. You're very, very right, Eric.
I agree completely. Yeah, that's a great point, E, because when I was looking at it, I was like, this is what Ned and Sansa should have been doing.
What? That's crazy.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah. like be strategic. Be like, actually have a purpose why you're there. Like, have an agenda, have a strategy. They were just there existing, and that's why they got caught up in the Game of Thrones.
It's because of who they are. The Starks is just not the Starks, who are one of the best.
They're noble family.
Right. They're just noble. They don't play the game. They just
very honorable. I get it.
Yeah. So, but it does hurt them overall, all the time, actually. So,
yeah. When if it includes pimping, so be it.
I mean, that's the time frame that it is. Whatnot. But for them, they really like, yo, just leave us in the north and leave us alone. That's why they like that, honestly. Like that. We like being cold. Leave us alone.
And we saw Rickon Stark too. That was cool.
Rickon Stark, yeah, he was giving his vote, and we'll see later on another Stark down the line. But so that's Corlys and his seat. The other seat we talked about, and Eric alluded to, the Hand, Otto Hightower, and he has the king's ear. He is the Hand. He helps make decisions. He obviously hates Daemon for reasons I'll get into, and then he also, like you said, like Eric said, sent his daughter at the end once the queen died. So, how you feeling about Otto, Josh? I'm gonna let you about that. So.
Oh yeah, I love his character. He understands again how sausage is made in the kingdom, and I love how Miguel Sapochnik and the showrunners made his character not necessarily soft-spoken, but he doesn't really project a lot, and it really shows how much power and understanding he has by a very calm and calculated delivery. So it did remind me of Lord Baelish a little bit, but at the same time, a more honorable version, because obviously he has a nobility, so that makes it different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because Baelish was from a poor family. He just wanted to be a lord so bad. But yeah, Michelle, same thing. You thinking about him?
Yeah, that's the point I was going to take. He reminds me of Baelish, but of a more respectable character. Let's just say. But again, if you trying to pick your daughter out, how far are we going?
I mean, to be fair, if we're going to add the context of medieval times, right? When you're all about preserving a kingdom or having heirs, essentially that's what happens if you have a daughter. They're getting pimped out to another king or prince for the kingdom. That was the lifestyle. So to me, that was
be the daughter of the man right next to you. That way, because the wife just died, it only takes 9 months to make another baby. So if the opportunity is there, he does have an opportunity to make a son. Now, granted, we see what happened, but the thought process was there.
Yeah, see, he gave her the push, and she jumped off, by herself. Basically, like he'd say, go in there. You know what I mean? But well, right now she's just kind of hanging out with him and stuff like that. But whatever happens now, that's on her. Something like that. You know what I mean? So,
bedtime stories.
Huh?
Bedtime stories.
I mean, he's still mourning right now. You know what I mean? He's sitting there making model cities and shit like that. Nothing. Which is that was a hell of a job for back then, by the way. That model, I gotta say, that was pretty fucking good.
Yeah, that was great. And it was a callback to the original intro. That was cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Otto is very ambitious himself. Yeah, I would say he is the hand. He was the hand of the previous king too of Jaehaerys, so he's been around for quite some time. Um, in the books, actually, Alice is a little older, and she used to actually be the king's caregiver, the old man, like before he died and stuff like that. So she's always been within the kingdom in certain ways, but Otto hates Damon. We're getting to Damon next, stuff like that. And he hates Damon. Damon hates him. What they don't show in the show is that there was a rumor going around that Damon took Alicent's virginity, right?
Mhm.
And what happened was Damon never said he didn't, right? So what happened was the rumor stayed out there. So he hated him ever since then, which is why they kept trying to give him all these jobs to get him away from King's Landing. And I guess finally now Otto says, listen, he don't belong here. So Damon, probably the most polarizing character on this show, and probably will be throughout. Michelle, what do you think about Damon, the brother, Damon Targaryen?
I think he's gonna be a great antagonist. You know, there's rift within their relationship as brothers. So I'm interested in seeing how he's going to come about and try to take that power back. That's what I'm really interested in seeing. He has to me the conniving ways of what's his name, the bastard.
Tyrion.
No,
No, Jon Snow.
No,
the other bastard.
Ramsay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it might get that in my mind. It might get that dark, and that's what I'm interested in seeing. How far is he really willing to go to maintain what he thinks he's the rightful heir of?
Okay, so let me stick to Damon with her for a second. So some of his scenes, like when he went through King's Landing, like you have Turn Away there too. How you feel about that when he went through with the gold cloaks and kind of, I guess, dealt out his own justice by cutting off stuff and all this other good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was their way of trying to wash the city. That didn't really bother me at all.
Oh my god,
You
a
know,
bunch of niggas discussing middle-aged TV shows. I don't know who that is, but what's up?
oh, you don't know that person?
No,
I'm certain they may not be of this persuasion. Let's say.
No, not at all.
okay, I got you. All right, but what was that, Michelle? What you saying about Damon?
I said that scene didn't bother me at all. You know,
Okay.
that was their way of washing the city of crime and whatnot. So he came in with his team, the Gold Cloaks, and stroked their power, but it really wasn't any relevance to me.
Okay, Josh, all of Damon and all of his different moments in the show between the with the gold cloaks, the jousting, him and his brother, even him and that flirtation with Rhaenyra, which you didn't touch on.
That's the main one that I'm gonna focus on. Him first of all, chilling in the throne room.
Yeah.
Sneaking in there, and again, he's a tall, considered handsome guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to sneak into King's Landing, into the most guarded chamber in all of King's Landing. He's just there chilling without anyone else knowing. Mm-hmm. So that, as Shell said, showing his conniving ability and his slippery ability. So I thought that was great. That was a great demonstration of his personality and his ambitions, of course. But of course, the flirtation, because as we know, the Targaryens are incredibly incestuous. So either they smash before or they're gonna smash in the future. That's how I looked at that scene. I thought that was very interesting that he had a Valyrian steel jewelry, because we don't see that much of that in Game of Thrones. Typically, it's only swords, right? Because
and he's got one, Dark Sister.
Exactly, that killed the Night King. I thought that was very interesting as well.
Yeah, Dark has a sword named Dark Sister. But yeah, they didn't smash before. I'll let you know that, but I'll leave it at that. But yeah, Targaryens are known for that. Even like Viserys, the king, his mom and dad were brother and sister, which is why I think he even had a stronger claim, because he was all pure Targaryen and stuff. So I think that was part of it as well.
He's definitely getting the throne. For sure.
That I think he may have had his brother's best interest trying to show power. That's another thing I want to talk about that. So when obviously his brother was upset, he made that joke about the baby, which was in poor taste.
Was it king for a day or heir for a day?
Heir for a day, yeah. Yeah. And that line is actually straight from the books too. But he did make some good points about the brother. He said, "Listen, I was trying to watch over you because." He said, "They say you're weak, but all these dudes take advantage of you because they know how to pull you, especially Otto."
The leeches.
Yeah, the leeches and stuff like that. And he was like, "I'm trying to watch over you because they know it's easy to persuade you." So, Josh, hearing that, let's talk about that back and forth between the two brothers. How do you feel about that in the throne room? So,
definitely showing the divide within the family, which led to how Harrenhal looked. So even though what's his name? Jaehaer,
the king?
Yeah, the previous king. What's his name?
Yeah, Jaehaerys. Yeah,
Jaehaerys was trying to prevent that from happening. Regardless, it still seems that there's going to be a divide in the kingdom, and to a degree, you still see that he's trying to manipulate the king as well. So it's kind of like, I want to be able to manipulate you. I don't want other people to be able to manipulate you. I want to be able to do that. So that was totally that dynamic right there.
Yeah. I think but go ahead, Michelle. I want to hear what you guys say about that.
I wanted to hear what you want to say first.
Well, I think that the king, like I said, I think he's mid, but he's always distracted, right? Because when Corlys Velaryon tells me, "Listen, there's this dude right here, in the sandstones. They call it a crab feeder, and he's coming. Like he's building an army, blah blah blah." And they ignore what he's saying, and all the king worried about is this festival coming up, celebrate his son. So I can see where like he's constantly not focused on the good thing. So I see where his brother's coming from. Like, yo, you need me in there. And maybe that's why Otto, and it does seem like maybe that's why Otto and the rest of them want to get rid of me because they know I won't let you fold. At the same time, Daemon is not very he's too tunnel vision. Like he don't have another way either. It's like, yo, this is it. Like some of those people, I mean, actually it's funny because when he cut the dude's junk off, him in the gold cloaks for sexual assault, let's say, I said, yo, if that was the punishment for sexual assault today, you probably have less sexual assaults, honestly.
But you wouldn't have any less claims, which would be dangerous.
That's true. I can see that too. But I'm saying you definitely will have a lot less dudes who do it thinking about doing it. If that was like, listen, if you do this to this girl, the punishment is cutting your junk off. So I felt like people who might have thought that was harsh or even cutting the guy's hand off for robbing people, everything he did down there, which was crazy to them, it was all to criminals. It wasn't like they were just like, people who did nothing.
Again, speaking as the son of a defense attorney, alleged criminals.
Okay,
there was no due process. This was Daemon, who isn't so evenly killed, issuing out let's say punishments. I don't know if I would trust that character reference.
Well, they were judge jury. He was judge jury and executioner. Okay, and that's
correct.
So, but if they were criminals, I kind of get where he's coming from in a way. Even though Daemon, he has his own ways, but I think at that moment in the throne room, I think with the hurt that the king was going through, and then to hear his brother made this joke, I think all that anger poured out at that particular moment, which is why he banished him to go back to the Vale with his wife. But I still think that's the king showing the way that he is not weak, but that he won't kill his brother still or cut his tongue out. Not like he says, like, yo, just go away, stuff like that. And that's some of the way he does things. He doesn't dole out that kind of like punishment like previous kings do. But Michelle, what do you think about them too in the throne room?
And I think that's where his fault lies. The balance between Daemon and his brother is Daemon is that force, that hand that you need to get it done. Right. And King, he has that softer, compassionate side where, all right, you did this and it's not okay, but I'm not going to give you any sort of corporal punishment. I'm just going to put you in the closet and close the door and say, have a good day.
Right.
So in a sense, I agree with Daemon. He should be right here because the king has showed us so far that he doesn't have that hand to strike when it needs to come down. Now, in the future, when there is a war coming that we know of, is the king going to have the wherewithal to actually act for that force and give what's needed to protect the kingdom? Don't know.
Yeah, I kind of agree. He doesn't seem like a very, I think some of the best kings are military, who were like military people and stuff like that. And the king don't seem like he one of those people at all, so far anyway.
But the thing, for what we see right now, grief has stricken him. He lost his wife and his son. So for those who don't know the story and haven't read the books like myself, grief could turn you into a whole different person. So will he become not the Mad King, but will he get that force and that energy in him to actually, conjure that anger to provide and protect for the kingdom?
We shall see. But also what I will say though is that we saw that the chair kept cutting him over and over again. And they say if the chair cuts you, that means you're not supposed to be king. So that's like the way
that chair is chipping at him on his back, his fingers.
Yeah, and Damon knew where to sit on the chair, to sit to the right, and he was sitting to the left. So I thought that was very interesting. But at the same time, to Shelly's point, I thought the king showed more strength in his grief-stricken time by actually raising his voice and being angry. So to be fair, yes, he did give mercy, but he went up to that line. Like if you get out of line even more, if I hear you messing around in the veil, that's your head. That's how I took it. Because he done had it up to here with him. Because everyone's in his ear. He just lost most of his family. So at this point, he's incredibly vulnerable, but it is lashing out. Like, you know what? Don't forget, I am a Targaryen. I got that crazy in me too. You don't want to see it go there. True.
And yeah, that's right. Let me think of any other character. We had the jousting tournament, the big old tourney, and we see and one guy, I don't know his name. I think his name was Sir Cole, the one who was beating everybody and stuff like that. Yeah, Sir Cole. Yeah. And we see him and Damon really get into it. They want to have the joust, having a battle, stuff like that.
Hold on, Mike. You breaking up a little bit.
Probably.
Am I good now?
Oh yeah, you're better now. And it's Kristen Cole.
Sir Kristen Cole. Yeah. So Josh, since you mentioned it, that battle, him and Damon, and him taking the favor of was it Alice at the time? Yeah, no, it was Rhaenyra at the time.
It was Rhaenyra.
How you think about what you think about that and that whole battle with him and Damon there?
That actually reminded me of Jaime Lannister.
Yes.
And the fact that it's kind of like what was his name? What was the Iron King? I mean the what's it called? The Iron Island
Euron.
It reminded me of him talking about Cersei in front of Jaime. So I'm gonna get your cousin that could potentially that you have some type of feelings for, some type of protection that isn't just family wise. Let's say, right? And I'm gonna do this. Not only did I beat you in battle, but I'm gonna put a cherry on top and get the give it to her, right? So I thought that was great. And I think that could be another ally for the king in the future against Damon.
Okay. Michelle, any thoughts on him and them and that scene?
No, I agree. It definitely could be flashbacks to Jaime. But it in that particular scene, it showed the force of Damon. He's as cutthroat as they come. But he also fell to someone else's power too. So I think that's going to be a foreshadowing event to see how throughout the season, he's going to have moments where he's going to rise in power a little bit, but then something's going to knock him down. Like, yo, humble yourself, calm down. You're really not the yoke. You're not it, but we're going to allow you to flex just a little bit. And I think this was a good foreshadowing moment for that storyline.
I thought it also showed how his boasting distracts him because he pretty much has Sir Kristen beat, and then he turns around and starts flexing and posing, and that's when he came back and got him with the with his weapon. So I thought it showed that Damon got to keep his eye on the prize, not just try to show who he is.
To be fair, in that sequence, I still saw Sir Kristen Cole as the person who was going to win that. Regardless if he turned around or not, I knew he wasn't going to give up. But for me, the way that it was shot, the sequence and the editing, I was like, oh, Sir Kristen Cole, he got Damon's number easy.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, definitely. But I still that's track. I'll talk about
Hold on, Mike. You going in and out again.
give me 1 second. My- all
Yeah, it's still a bit choppy.
right. Josh, can you talk about the what's heir to the throne?
You can't understand you, Mike.
Josh,
I think
Uh,
he's gonna come out and then come back in. So
Yeah.
that should work. There we go.
Huh?
Go ahead,
All
Mike.
right, cool. All right, real quick, while I lose the whole internet. When he had to ultimately name his daughter as the heir to the throne, and we saw the whole ceremony there where she became the heir, and she was surprised by it, and he told her what the story that we watched, the Song of Ice and Fire, which was the story that was passed down from Targaryen to Targaryen. So we know how that ends, what he's telling her, but he starts to tell her. But the ultimate, her becoming the heir, him having to make the decision. How did you see that, Michelle? How did you see that whole thing when it was happening? Like, what did it make you?
I knew, well, I had forethought that it was going to happen. Not necessarily in this episode, but I was actually like I said, shocked that it did happen at the end of this episode. For me, I think it's going to give a good starting point to how we see the kingdom accept her responsibility as the heir to his throne. He's made that announcement, like, this is what it is, bend the knee, let's get it started. But you're going to have those adversaries that are going to say, listen, this is not what tradition is. You're breaking tradition. At the end of the day, he has no sons. He has no male heirs. This is what it has to be. Damon's not it.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. And I'd rather, to give glory to what we think, building his own pathway would be. Him announcing his daughter as his heir will set the tone for, future generations for women in power in the kingdom.
Okay. Josh, how do you feel about the decision he was left to make and ultimately how she accepted it?
So to your first point, I did love how they gave that Easter egg about the real Song of Ice and Fire, right? And how that ultimately, comes to fruition. It even goes back to the dreams, because dreams are massive for Targaryens. Dreams is all about philosophy in this world. So I thought that was great too, because it was the dream that led one Targaryen family, leave Valyria before the Doom of Valyria. So I thought that was a big meaningful moment right there. And at the same time, for me at the time, logically speaking, I agree. You can't give someone like Daemon the crown, especially what he doing with the City Watch. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't be doing that. So to me, it was the logical decision. Of course, the king was in his grieving state. I mean, he wasn't thinking like a savage. He could have been like, man, I could get some young thing and keep going until I die, and it could do like that, because that's typically what would happen. He would just find another bride and repeat the process. And I thought that was a great relationship building moment between these two, because as Rhaenyra always said to Alicent, feels like you didn't want me at all. So she was not only, I think she was shocked out of everyone else, but even during the let's say the coronation ceremony for the new heir, I felt like all those guys, all the lords bowing. Sure, you're gonna show fealty to the king. That's your job. You're always gonna do that for public appearance's sake. But they all know once they go back home and they tell everyone else what happened, they don't want to hear that. And not only that, where Daemon at? We going back this king, because he to Shell's point, tradition. So again, the kingdom is all about keeping the kingdom intact, and this is a decision that could potentially not only split the kingdom, but cause another civil war within the Targaryens, and then leave the Targaryens not in power anymore, potentially.
Well, we do ultimately see in Game of Thrones that they did lose power somehow. So we do see that, there's civil wars that are causing a problem. What I think though is that remember, she was the king's cupbearer, as you see, for many years. So she was in on all these small council meetings.
I'm
So I
sorry.
felt like,
I'm sorry, Mike. We got to block Hi Hey because they're just trolling right now. So
my
yeah.
fault.
Yeah, we got to block them.
How do you block them? Do you know that?
You see the dots?
I got it. Yeah, block. Yep. Okay. All right. So ultimately, I think she's been at enough meetings and small council meetings, and as you can see, she always being nosy. She stopped pouring her cups and shit like that. So I feel like she actually is more has more experience than Damon at the political side of it, because she sees what the master of coin does, the master of ships, the hand of the king. She's sitting there every meeting.
She's inadvertently a part of those conversations.
Correct.
Alone.
Right, exactly. So ultimately, she probably would know more how to run the country than Damon would, even though he's just the man. Basically, he just wants because he's a man. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think like strategically wise he would have been the best choice, at all. So I think it was a good thing to do. You also see Josh, the King's holding the whole episode the same dagger that killed the White Walker that Arya had. Got passed down from generation to generation. The dagger that that they use to try to kill Bran and stuff like that. So I think that was a cool Easter egg that you still see that around. And like you said, the whole Song of Ice and Fire thing as well. So but that's pretty much the show. It ends with her, becoming that particular heir. Any other thoughts you guys have about some of the plots or characters or stuff you guys foresee happening and stuff? So
I'm actually very curious about how they're going to do this time jump, right? Because you have the young Alicent, then you have the actual Alicent, which is two different actresses.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with Rhaenyra, yeah.
Right. So it's going to be interesting how they do that. I'm just curious.
Well, he names his heir now, as we see, but he doesn't die for quite some time. So, we'll tell you guys that. So, but what about you, Michelle? Any questions or thoughts or?
That is my question. Like, when does he die? When does she actually take power? So
he is not like,
because I can speculate there's gonna be that nasty ass cut on his back.
From this particular time when he named the heir, it's quite some time before he dies. Yeah.
Figures.
So she's just a heir for just some time, what I mean? But
she's the pronounced namesake.
Yeah, she's the pronounced namesake. There's still some stuff to happen between, as you probably would think, between him and Damon. They ain't done with Damon yet, so
he make himself known, honey. Damon is here to stay. You don't care where he tried to ban him and send him to. Damon's not going away nicely.
Yeah.
By the way, is it right? Is that the mother who died giving birth is actually going to play Rhaenyra in the future? Is that how that's working?
No, that's not. That's a whole different actress playing.
Okay.
And speaking of Daemon, we saw his huge dragon, by the way, too. We didn't really touch on that. Caraxes is his name, but I'm happy to see, for me personally, that there will be so many dragons, with this particular show, as opposed to Game of Thrones with only 3. So
did I hear that 10? Did I hear that correctly?
There's 10 in season 1 alone. You'll likely see through this whole House of the Dragon or Dance with Dragons. It's like 18 dragons, like total. There's more dragons yet to be born. You have not seen Rhaenys, like I said, the black dude's wife. She got her own dragon. You haven't even seen yet, stuff like that. So it's a bunch of different dragons, stuff like that. A bunch of women and men dragon riders. That's the thing. I think you hear in the trailer where Daemon says, "Dreams didn't make us kings, dragons did." You know what I mean? That's why they're powerful. So,
yeah. And then Daemon actually has one of that Tyrion relationship with the courtesan, right? His own little version of that, who's in his ear.
But yeah, we just talked about her, but she had Sarah, who they call Misery in the show. Yeah, initially, because literally her name fits the nickname they give her, stuff like that. But yeah, he has kind of a relationship like that with her, which you'll see. He don't like his wife in the Vale. He ain't want her in the first place, but they made him marry her.
It reminded me of what's his name? What's his name? Jaime's essential bodyguard. Was it Bronn?
Brienne of Tarth. Brienne.
No. The dude who
always Bronn. Yeah.
Remember he got the lordship with the wife was like, I don't he don't want to go home. I
did like how Damon to Otto said, "You want her? You go take her."
Exactly.
Like, I knew your wife died. Maybe you want her.
Yeah, that was a political marriage, and Damon like, I ain't be for that.
I do what I want. Like that, you know what I mean? That's damn. I feel bad for the girl. Like, I can't come on with shit like that. But no, I'm excited.
It's like nobody wants to be women from the Vale. It's crazy.
No, except for that was political too. I was a Littlefinger, but never mind. He had his own ambitions too as well. But no. What happened?
Did you say line of bitches?
No, I said Littlefinger because remember he married the chick who had the grown son giving her breastfeeding her and shit, like that. He married that was the Vale. That's the Vale right there, actually.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. So, but anyway, it's been great. The show we just did. I'm so happy that we have any type of Game of Thrones back. It should be an amazing series, and already broke the records for HBO Max. The first episode alone. Happy you guys have on. I don't know what happened to E, but happy to any questions y'all may have, because like I said, I do know the story, and I'm so happy that it's done, because with that they can just flush it out, without having to add their own spin on it. And
Big Mike, let me ask you a question, because you read the novels, right? So is there another story you think that might be in the pipeline, like a Dunk and Egg prequel? Because I thought, it's the rise of Aegon. I feel like we have to see the doom of Valyria at some point if we're going to go down this Targaryen route.
Well, the rise of Aegon, not really. It's just when he took over the whole 7 kingdoms. So that's not really. But he just woke up one day and said, "Listen, I don't know why the hell we sitting here. We got 3 dragons. None of them do. I want the whole country." So he got 6. He only got, actually, at this point in the timeline, which we're watching on HBO right now, they only have 6 kingdoms. They don't have 7 because Dorne never surrendered till later on. So at this point, Dorne was the last to surrender. That's about 50 years from now, which you're watching right now.
And I thought that was interesting that they made Sir Criston Cole from Dorne, because apparently in the books he's from the Stormlands. So I thought that was a very interesting twist. Maybe to perhaps get some more Dornish plots. Yeah, thank you. Presence in the future. That's very interesting.
But yeah, Dunk and Egg will be dope. I was just telling them at the barbershop, you can do Targaryen stories over and over again, because because they beat themselves up and stuff like that. And then it's the whole Blackfire Rebellion, which is what your name is right there, and that's 5 wars right there, because there's like a king years from what we're watching now, and he has like 26 bastards or something like that. Like, it's crazy, like a lot of bastards. And then
he got allegiance with the Golden Army. Yeah,
right. Because he legitimized them before he died. Yeah, led to the allegiance, and then they have so many wars after that. So by the time Daenerys is born, they've all killed themselves and killed their dragons, which is why they were left to what they were left at. I was, if you look at this show right here, all that Targaryen stuff on the walls, the all their signs, their sigils, all the dragon stuff. Robert got rid of all that shit when he came in. He used to take everything Targaryen down in this castle and shit like that. Like, Robert was not playing. Nobody will see none of it on the main show. But no, I could see Dunk and Egg. You know what I would love? And I would love to see Robert's Rebellion. I don't think it's never going to show up, but I would love to see that on screen.
That would definitely be cool. And the events leading up to that would be great. But I feel like, to your point, they kind of covered that in the flashbacks, but to have it fleshed out, and again, it's on the source material, I think it would be a compelling story. Maybe they can do like a limited series on it, something like that. It's like 1 season, maybe. I don't know.
Like an offshoot.
Yeah, just because, I mean, like I said, it was never really fleshed out. There's still holes, and what they only showed us the flashback. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see the fight between Robert and Rhaegar. How that ended and stuff like that. And like the whole thing. Like, I know how the king just told Rhaenyra that like all the Targaryens passed down this knowledge about the White Walkers and the impending doom. Well, so the Mad King would have known it and told Rhaegar. But he got killed before he could tell anybody. That's why nobody fucking knew they were coming. Shit like that. So only the Targaryens knew about them. You know what I mean? Until Jon, found out later on. So that'd be cool. But yeah, I can see the Aegon's conquest. Not really Aegon's conquest, but the Blackfire Rebellion, Dunk and Egg, and maybe Robert's Rebellion as well.
And then for a fan series, I feel like a great sequel would be Arya going east. I feel like people might want to see that story.
What's the Westeros?
I mean, you're talking about the Jon Snow show, so I mean, I think
that too, but that would incorporate Arya as well. To me, at some point, I think you should incorporate
all the younger ones: Jon, Arya, Sansa,
Bran the Broken.
the little bear. That's my girl right there. She be on there and shit like that. Liana Mormont, yeah, I like her and shit. And stuff like that. But they could do if this series hits, which is already hitting. They can take anything from the time. They got 400 or 500 years of stuff to do. They can even go all the way back, Josh, to the first men in the White Walkers if they wanted to.
Oh, and Children of the Forest. Oh my goodness.
And Children of the Forest. They could go all the way back. So
the first thing the one I really wanted to see, even more than House of the Dragon, that was a rumor. That the original potential for was the first Long Night. I would love to see that.
They shot that. They shot the first episode of that, and they didn't pick up. That was the one with what's her name? The Australian actress who was in King Kong, the original one. Not Nicole, whatever. But they shot that. The pilot, it didn't pick up for some reason. So I don't know. It makes sense, I guess. I don't know. But this is good. We got a lot of dragons. I told Josh and them, Jazz and them, this season we have right now could probably run for like 6 seasons. Like it's so much that happens. So they could fast pace it if they want to, or they can stretch it to like 5 or 6 seasons because there's a lot from this episode we just saw right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Because George R.R. Martin, he wanted 10 seasons out of the original show, but it sounds like he might be able to get 10 seasons with this, maybe.
I can see 6 to 10, but at least a good 6 if they really stretch the events of stuff that. Because like I just told Michelle and them, like he's king for another years. Then he got her stuff, so it's a lot that's got to go on. And then Allison. Which again, y'all didn't really get into Allison yet, and just so much I don't even want to get into. But yeah, it's a lot. So, but no, I'm excited. But we'll be back next week, and Michelle, we're on tomorrow night with our power. Catch up with
Ready
that.
for it.
Josh, I'll see you Saturday morning for She-Hulk to talk about that. You and Chloe. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks to my brother and whoever that was. You'll be blocked from now on, and we'll see you later. All right, guys.
Good night, guys.
Peace.
Good night.